Hey everyone, welcome. Oh man, the camera is crooked. It's all get out. Welcome to the Horror Syndicate's Horror Movie Massacre. I'm Ray, or Razor, and tonight I'll be going over the top 10 horror films from 1989. I think I need a new tripod. This thing is all jacked up. Oh, there we go. My son was in here earlier. I think he might have messed my stuff up. Sorry about that. I was trying to rush to get on here. Rush to be with everyone. Welcome. We've gotten all the way to 1989. And really, Jared was not involved in this one again. And as you know, the way we came up with these lists is everybody put in their top 10. And I gave everything a point value. So if you pick, your number one got 1 point, your number two got 2 points, and then from that, the lowest amount of points was number one to the highest amount was number 10, and there were usually 10 or 15 or sometimes 20 movies that were considered for each year, because the 80s had a lot of movies. And Seth, I don't know where Seth is. I'll just say that from the get-go. I have no idea. I've set the time at 8 or 9, whatever, and then I had to move it because I was a little late, and StreamYard shut you off at a certain point in time, so I just moved it back a little bit until I was ready. And anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know if he might be here at 8:15. He might not. I haven't heard from him, I don't think. Let me look. No, I've not heard from him since earlier today around 1, where he sent me the same text twice in a row. Anyway, so yeah, that's how we came up with a list. It's all point value, and it worked out. I think it worked out okay. Some of the lists are a little weird. Some of the movies that are on here, I don't believe are horror movies, but whatever. It's what happens when you have a combined list. And I'm just gonna get into it because I don't have the video uploaded for 1988. I have all the way through 1987, but I forgot to upload the 88. I've been busy all freaking day. Last couple days have been pretty busy for me. So if you're new to the Horror Syndicate, please subscribe. Hit the like button. Check out the Facebook page as we are doing Horror Movie March Madness. We are doing remakes right now. So if you go to the Horror Syndicate on Facebook, the current matchups are, let's see, The Last House on the Left from 2009 versus The Blob from 1998. Then and right now the Blob is winning 391 votes to 93. Then we got Pet Sematary from 2019 versus The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and from 2003. And The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is winning 574 to 85. We've got My Bloody Valentine 3D from 2009 versus 2024's Nosferatu. And this one's closer. Nosferatu is leading 339 to 270. And then the last matchup is Poltergeist from 2015. And this is a complete landslide versus Night of the Living Dead from 1990. 670 to 41, meaning that 94% of the voter is going to Night of the Living Dead from 1990, which is the correct choice, in my opinion. Anyway, that's enough blathering for now. We got 2 more minutes till 8:15, and maybe Seth will show up. There he is. Okay. Not a great year, Pet Cemetery aside. Yeah, 89 is a weird year. 1989 had, it was kind of the end of the glory days of the 1980s, where 1988 was kind of like 87, 88 was like the height of it, but it declined fast, like the U.S. economy from Biden to Trump. It's just, but yeah, it was like 19. We got some bad sequels with Halloween 5, Elm Street 5, Friday the 13th 8, and then just a bunch of weird ass movies in general. But we're gonna go through. We've got 10 movies here to talk about, and I think, let me see. I think most of them are sequels. Oh, Seth's here. I'll bring him on in just a second. Let's see. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is the most sequels. 5. Yeah, 5. No. Uh-oh. Something didn't download. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, so I think 6 of them are sequels. Anyway, so Seth's here. Here he is. Hi, Seth.
What's up?
Are you? Hi.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Just talking a little bit about 1989 and how it's kind of like we talked about 87 and 88 and how great we got, a lot of great sequels and some, the beginning of 2 great franchises in my opinion, Hellraiser and Child's Play, and some just great overall movies in those years. I mean, the 85 through 88 years are great, like horror's on the rise, and all of a sudden 89 comes along and just bam, it like the fun's over almost. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it seems like. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that for horror. Like 89 was a decent year for action, I think, but for horror, not so much.
Yeah, no, 89, like looking back at 89 in general, and when we get to our question later on, there's some decent movies overall in 1989. I mean, we think about uh, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is my favorite, and Batman and Ghostbusters 2, and God, what's another one? Lethal Weapon 2, I think, right?
Lethal Weapon
Yeah.
2, yeah.
But yeah, it's I think 89 was overall a pretty decent year in movies in general, but rough for horror fans. Even though, I'm sure you, I mean, back then, I don't know, you were only like 6 years old, but I'm sure we were pretty happy with the output we got anyway. Because to be honest, like as bad as Halloween 5 may be, I don't hate it. Like I don't think I hate
It's watchable.
It is watchable. I mean,
Yeah.
and well, I mean, some of the issues are like, why'd they kill off Rachel? Why is Tina the lead all of a sudden? Stuff like that. Why did they change the Myers house?
And like that's all stuff that didn't bother me when I was younger.
No,
Like,
same here. Same here.
I mean, same with, I mean, I give Jason Takes Manhattan a lot of shit, but like not a movie that bothered me when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like it's watchable. But
I'm an apologist. I like Jason Takes Manhattan. I have some fun with it. But anyway, so 89 is not terrible. There's some fun stuff in here, and we're going to get to those right now. Let's do number 10. By the way, Jared did not get his picks in. So
I have a question for you.
What is it?
What is Sean talking about here?
Oh, I started early, so I pushed the show to 8:15 or 9:15 your time because I was thinking I was gonna be late, and I got done at like 8:05, so I went ahead and started. and I
Oh,
was
okay.
on there by myself. He's like, "Oh no, Seth." I was like, "No, I think he's going to be here at 8:15. I started a little bit early.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Okay.
he's like," and I was like, "I haven't heard from him since you texted me that same text twice, 4 minutes apart." Okay, cool. I'll get the list later. I got it twice today,
Oh,
four
really?
minutes
So
apart.
twice. Wow.
I
No,
guess
it's
I
just
don't
once on my phone.
know. It might be. Let's see, 1 o'clock. I was at lunch. And there's a bad area in the town I work in, and I think it may have came through once, and then when I got out of the bad area, came through again. So who knows? Internet or not internet, texting.
Yeah.
But I used to hate Loomis and Five. That's a big. Well, we'll get to that because Halloween Five did make the list. It just barely made the list. So, which obviously, if we can go ahead and start,
Yeah.
Halloween Five is number 10. It just barely made the list.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, movies like Toxic Avenger 2 and 3, I think you had on the list. They were deep in the list because they didn't get a. This was like 22 points or 24 points or something like that. And anyway, it's Halloween 5. Yeah, Loomis is a dick in this one. Seth has written books about Loomis's actions in this movie, right, Seth?
Yeah. That's my big issue with it. Again, like we mentioned before, this is a watchable movie. It's one of my least favorites in the series, but it's one that um that I can still watch. I'll watch Halloween 5 more than I'll watch Resurrection or Halloween Ends even. Um, and mainly because of Dr. Loomis himself. I love the character. I just didn't like the way that he was portrayed in this,
Yeah.
and there's other issues here and there with this film. I can't say I hate Halloween 5. It's just one of my least favorites in that franchise, but again, watchable.
It's generally ranked lower on all of our rankings because we recognize that it's not a good movie overall, but like you said, it's watchable. This is the second to last movie we get Dr. Loomis. I find issues with it, like the clown music or whatever with the
Yeah,
cops. You know how goofy they are.
yeah,
The replacement of Rachel with Tina was very jarring, even for my 9-year-old brain. I'm like, why they kill her off? I get why they did, but they dream mastered her basically, killed her off, in the first few minutes.
yeah, and I know we've talked about it before, but it's just like the the emotional impact of Tina's death would have been so much more powerful if it was Rachel. Um,
Absolutely.
like that should have been a Rachel moment.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I don't get that decision at all.
I think, yeah, and as far as Loomis for me, it doesn't bother me too much. He's completely out of character in many ways, but I feel like at this point, maybe he thought the nightmare was over at the end of 4, and then Jamie stabs her stepmother with the scissors. I feel like this man's he's been burnt up, he's been thrown from a gas or the exploding gas station. A bunch of kids made fun of him early in the year before that. Old man, come on, like
Yeah,
he's gone through this, and I just feel like he is at the end of his rope. Like he's just
yeah, and
completely
and,
done with his.
and I get that, and I get the like when he uses Jamie as bait is sort of like an act of desperation.
Yeah,
I do like the fact that he has a stroke while beating Myers with the 2x4. I like that idea of it, you
yeah.
know, um, but just the way he treated Jamie, and I mean even that that kid there was his name, uh, Jamie's boyfriend, uh,
Jimmy,
Billy.
Billy,
Yeah,
one of
I
those
don't know. He
names.
just seemed kind of like very dickish all around. I mean, even when he was talking with Rachel in the beginning, like there's a little bit of warmth to it, but not a lot. Like it just seems very bitter.
Hmm. I'd be bitter too, I think. But anyway, we've talked about Halloween 5 a lot, and
Yeah.
you're right, it's watchable. I watched a ton as a kid, and I know it just as well as I know 4, or even maybe the first movie, just because I've seen it so much.
Yeah.
So that's number 10. Number 9 is The Fly 2. I like this movie more than I thought I did because it was ranked a little bit higher on my list. Did you have it on your list?
Yeah, it's on my list. I've always dug The Fly too.
Yeah.
You know, like so I saw David Cronenberg's The Fly and The Fly
Hmm.
too. That they used to play on TV quite a bit when I
Oh
was
yeah.
young, and I used to watch them both all the time. And I really like Fly too. I don't think it's nearly as good of a film as Cronenberg's, but I think it's actually a pretty decent. Uh, it's a pretty decent follow up. I think. I liked Eric Stoltz in it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Very. Yeah. Yeah. He was good actually.
yeah. Um, what was it? There was that dickhead character who was also like a cop in Freddy vs. Jason. He always kind of stood out too. I just think I think it's a decent follow up. It's inferior, but it's um, certainly one that I enjoy.
I like the direction they went in with this one.
Yeah, and
Where
yeah, and good effects too.
oh yeah, they actually yeah the effects are really great,
Yeah.
but the direction of Seth Brundle's kid
Hmm.
is basically aging rapidly like a fly because a
Yeah.
fly's lifespan is supposedly like 24 hours or something like that.
Hmm.
And I like that he's rapidly aging, and he's a genius, like Seth Brundle was essentially.
Yeah.
It's just, and Eric Stoltz's performance is so good in many ways, where he's cold at times, but then mesmerized at times. He's an interesting actor for sure. You don't see much of him. Uh, be I don't know why. He's actually a really good actor. Now I think about it.
Oh yeah, like I liked him in Pulp Fiction. Uh,
Hmm.
he was fun in that.
There's a movie from the '80s called Some Kind of Wonderful, I think,
Yeah.
that he was in, where he was pretty good. He's a good actor. I don't think he gets enough credit, honestly.
No, there's another movie I saw him in. I think it's called Killing Zoe.
Mm.
From Roger Avery. Uh,
Oh, I have never seen. I know what you're talking about, though.
yeah, I thought that was a pretty damn good movie.
Hmm.
Um,
I'll have to see that one. That's from the either late '80s, early '90s, I think, right?
it was it was like I think probably mid '90s because
Mid '90s.
It was after Pulp Fiction.
Okay,
Um,
I remember seeing that like at the video store. But yeah, man, The Fly 2 is underrated. It's streaming on Max, I believe. So if anybody hasn't seen it, check it out. It's definitely worth the time. I like it.
mhm.
Um, like it more than I expected. Coming in at number 8, Seth. Are you ready for this? I don't think you've seen the final list, have you?
I have not.
There you go.
All right, getting some representation here.
Yes. Well, I mean, you had it at like number 2. But this is actually a good Howling movie, though. I would place this at number 2, maybe, or 3 if I rank the Howling movies today
Hmm.
after the first movie. And no, I think this would probably be 2. Because I like 2 quite a bit. I know 2 is not great. And of course, Marsupials is my favorite.
Of
But
course, yeah,
yeah, but no, Howling 5, The Rebirth is one of the better movies.
absolutely. Sorry, absolutely. Like this is my second favorite Howlin' film. This is my clear number two. This was my number two of horror from 1989.
Yeah.
It's certainly a flawed film, right? I'm not going to pretend like it's perfect. There's flaws with the direction. There's flaws with some of the acting and some of the dialogue. But I think this is like kind of underrated and kind of damned by association with
I
the
think you're
rest
right.
by the rest of the franchise. I think
That's
there's
perfect way to describe this movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, because I think it's um, one. I think it's a totally. I have a lot of fun watching this. I love watching this film. I dig the score. I know not a lot of people do. I really like the story and I like the setting. I like the who done it
Mm-hmm.
angle. I like the castle
The
setting.
castle, yeah,
Um, you know,
the castle's really cool.
yeah. I know people get hung up on who is revealed to be the werewolf by the end. But I thought it was just kind of hilarious that it's literally the dumbest person in the film or someone who pretends to be stupid. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I love Howlin' Five. Again, I feel like it's underrated, even though it is flawed. I'm not gonna pretend like it's anything better than what it is. It is what it is, but I think it is better than all the Howlin' films aside from the first. And I think because of 2, 3, and 4, I don't think this one gets the proper due from people. I think people just kind of associate the crappiness of some of the, and I say that lovingly, of course, because I like 2 and 3 and 4 as well. But um, just because of the quality of those films, this is damned by association.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I do think this is probably the best of like I have my fun with two, and you understand why I like two,
Totally.
but and plus Christopher Lee's in it, but two can be a fun movie. I know it's not that great, but three is it's so weird and all over, kind of all over the place,
Yeah.
and four is just like I feel like there could have been a good movie there because they tried to go back to that's the one where they tried to go back to the roots of the novel, if I'm not mistaken, right? Four,
It's 4 is actually
the
more
original Nightmare, right?
yes, it's
Yeah,
more faithful to the first book in the series from
right.
Gary Brandner. However, they didn't have like the necessary budget and quality filmmakers. I don't think. Um, but yeah,
It just didn't turn out very well. And then five, like, because I rewatched these a few years ago. I think it was 2019, and I by the time I got to five, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch any more of these. And I got to five, I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
this one's pretty good. And I
yeah.
like Freaks. Freaks is the one everybody remembers, of course. I don't remember seeing New Moon Rising, or what do you call it, Line Dancing Rising, or something like that.
New Moonlight Dancing.
New Moon Line Dancing, and then Reborn is just not very good. It's like a Twilight attempt or something like that.
It is totally Twilight. Yeah.
Yeah, but this one definitely stands alone when it comes to sequels as it's the best sequel for sure.
Mhm.
And
The only not to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
The only thing I wish for this film is that we see a bit more of the werewolf.
Mm,
Uh, the werewolf strikes, and it's sort of like they kind of cut away.
yeah,
You don't get to see a lot of it like in detail. Like I wish there was a little bit more werewolf action in it. But
I mean that's most werewolf movies. I think honestly, you don't get enough of the full werewolf. But I mean, what you do get though. But again, the whole idea behind it's kind of like a slasher in kind of where it's a whodunit, like early slashers, like a Friday the 13th or
mhm.
the Prowler or whatever. But it works. This is one of the better. I can't remember where I placed this on my top 50 werewolf movies, but this is definitely the best, second best Howling movie because the first one, in my opinion, is still. I really think the Howling is better than a lot of people give it credit for. So
It is.
uh, I got strong feelings towards it, but yeah, definitely deserves to be on this list for 1989. I didn't even think to put it on my list, but I did put number 7 on my list, which is a movie called Society. Feast your eyes on the shunt. Seth, I don't think you've seen this movie.
I have not seen this one, but I've heard a lot about it.
It's fucking weird. Like, I don't. There's a society of people who can contort their body in certain ways. I think they're aliens. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But this kid's gone for a while. He comes back, and there's all this weird shit. Like, he can see the silhouette of a girl, like, in the shower. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. But her body's, like, regular. And then, like, instead of turning around, her body, like, I can't even explain it. It's so weird. But the ending is George Screaming Mad George did all the effects, and it's called The Shunt, and they're basically feasting on each other sexually, and like, but the thing is, like, their bodies are connecting. This dude, like, instead of turning around, his face pops out of his ass. It's so weird. I can't even explain this movie, but it's first of all, if you can eat during the shunt, you are the sickest individual of all time. And because Joe Bob played this, that's how I saw it. Was Joe Bob played it, and I just sat there with my like I couldn't move watching the last 15 minutes of this movie. It's one of those fucking movies that you just have to experience, and it's not like movies like, you know, a Serbian film or Necromantic that are gross. Like, this movie's got a little bit of a mystery to it because he's trying to figure out what's going on with the society, you know, what's going on in this town. And it's not a bad movie, and it's not gross to be gross, because Screaming Mad George did go crazy making this one. But I don't know, Society is a weird ass movie. I don't know if you'll like it or not, Seth. I don't know if anybody likes it. I just couldn't leave it off my list. It had to be mentioned. This is one of the weirdest movies, and I think because of how grotesque it is, it was pushed back to 1991 or something like that. It was officially released in '89, but like, it was hard to get distribution for it because it's fucking weird. I definitely think it's a one-time watch. I bought it immediately after I saw it, so call me whatever you want. But I was like, I have to have that in my collection. This is like one of those weird landmark horror movies that is a great conversation starter. It feels like a Brian Usna movie, through and through. You know, I mean, this would be a good double feature with movies like, shit, I can't think of the name of it, from 1986, From Beyond.
Oh yeah,
You know, and yeah, and it's like, if there's any movie that feels like a Brian Usna, because this is a Brian Usna film, if any movie feels like one of his movies, it's this, 100%. So, and if you like his work, definitely check it out because it's fucking strange. And anybody who's seen it can probably attest to how weird it is, because it's like, even without the shunt at the very end, which is an effects masterpiece in many ways, but it's just really gross because everybody's all greasy. And that's the other thing. Like, there are parts where somebody pushes their hand on somebody's face, and all of a sudden their face becomes one with the hand, and it's so strange. Like, I have to watch it again. Yeah, it was great watching it with Joe Bob too, because his commentary on Society and the shunt was in the shunt. The word the shunt alone is such a grotesque word, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd check it out at least once. It's probably, I think, let me see. I think it was streaming on Shudder last time I looked. It might be streaming. Yeah, it's available. What the hell is Fubo TV? I've never heard of that. Anyway, yeah, actually, it's funny. The two see, it says see also, From Beyond, Videodrome, Reanimator, Frankenhooker, The Stuff, Night of the Creeps, Street Trash, Basket Case. Yeah, so The Blob. I would definitely check it out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Check it out and report back if you have the stomach for it. Yeah. Anyway, coming in at number 6 is a movie I don't think is a horror movie, and this one was high on Nate's list, is The Burbs. Well, I don't think it's a horror movie. I really love this movie. So, have you seen this? Not seen this?
I have not seen it.
You've never seen The Burbs?
Nope.
Oh man, it's fun. This is a lot of fun. You get, obviously, Corey Feldman, Tom Hanks. You get Carrie Fisher plays his wife, and this weird family moves in this cul-de-sac, this community where everybody, like, basically is kind of like peeping in on everybody's business. You know, there's no secrets on this cul-de-sac, and this family moves into this kind of rundown house. You know, like your classic haunted house looking place, and they think that they're killing people in the basement, and they're burying the bodies in the backyard and all this different stuff. And Tom Hanks is on vacation for the week, so he's just watching them the whole week. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. What's his name? Malachi is in it from Children of the Corn. Can't think of his name. Yeah, he plays one of the Klopex, I think is their last name. And then there's the guy from Return of the Living Dead, Ernie.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Dom, I can't think of his last name.
Golfa.
Kaufman, yeah, he's in it as well. It's a fun ass movie. I really like this movie. I didn't put it on my list because I never thought of it as a horror movie, but it's definitely a fun movie. I like Tom Hanks. I don't know if you like Tom Hanks or not,
Yeah, he's
but
okay.
I own this Scream Factory too. Or not Scream Factory. That's why I don't think of it as a horror movie. Scream Factory put it in Shout Select. If it's a horror movie, it'd be Scream Factory,
Mm.
right? But Nate
Mhm.
had this high on his list as a horror movie. I just never saw The Burbs as a. It's just a fun kind of zany comedy. It's a fun movie. Uh, Mr. Scott, Terry Scott gives it 3 stars. I give it, if we're going on a 5-star scale, I give it 5 stars. It's a lot of fun. I don't want to say any more about it because I want you to check it out. I think you'll like it. Great, great movie. Coming in number 5, Seth's favorite Friday the 13th. Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, something like that.
I had a lot of fun with this one. Excuse me. I'm well aware it's not very good. It makes little sense because they're in Vancouver for most of the movie when they're on land. They spend way too much time on the boat, and a lot of it's just illogical. It's not a great movie, but I still have fun with it.
I gotta ask, did you intentionally uh, set the title like that?
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that. Takes Manhattan Jason. Yeah, holy shit, dude. I'm running on almost no sleep. Let's take that down.
At first, I thought you did it on purpose.
Yeah, I did. Let's just say that.
Well, it's funny too. My good friend Josh, who sometimes watches this show, uh, he's also a huge fan of Jason Takes Manhattan. Basically, the same principle as you, where it's like he's seen it as a as a kid, and always just kind of loved it for what it was. Um, I give it a lot of shit. I know I've put it on the bottom of my Friday 13th list when I probably shouldn't have. I
I mean,
suppose.
that's your list, of course. You put it wherever you want.
Yeah, I know, but like I don't know if I'm being accurate with saying that it's the worst. Because admittedly, like I don't, I'd watch the Paramount 8 way more than I watched the New Line Cinema 4. You know, so I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think what gets me with it is kind of some of the stupidity in the writing, but I actually like a lot of I like the cruise setting. I like everything that happens on the ship. I think the film actually falls apart when they actually get to Vancouver. I mean New York. Um, that's when the film goes really downhill for me. The toxic waste in the sewers and all that happy horse shit. But the stuff on the boat is kind of fun. But
Yeah,
I do
some of
have
it
to
is.
say, I do have to say too. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off again.
No, you're good.
I do like the character of Julius. I've always liked that character.
Yeah, I like Julius. Julius is cool. In like a movie that doesn't have great death scenes, and that's one of the things Friday the 13th always became to be known for is their death scenes. This one didn't have great death scenes except for maybe Julius. Even Jason's death was weak as fuck. Like
Yeah.
and what?
Another positive too is I actually really like, even though the math is stupid for her character, I do like the character of Rennie. Um,
I do too, actually.
yeah, I think the whole thing is stupid where she saw Jason when she was a kid, and then also her father or stepfather or uncle is her uncle, right?
It's her uncle.
Yeah, McCullough. I thought he was a fine secondary villain. Not quite Doctor
McCullough.
Cruz, but almost there.
Nobody
There
beats
are
Dr. Cruz.
positives. There are stuff I do like about it,
Here,
but
there we go. It was like the Yoda version of Jason takes Manhattan, Jason, or whatever it said.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that. I feel so dumb.
Oh, we got it.
But no, there are things I dislike about it. Like he's slimy the whole movie. Why?
Yeah.
Why does he never dry off? And that was apparently intentional. The cheap, knockoff from Ralph, Crazy Ralph on the boat. Didn't care for him. The
Yeah.
weird pressure from the one guy's dad. By the way, the actor that played Sean was just terrible. He
Yeah.
was not a good actor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of problems, but Jensen Daggett, who plays Rennie, I think was pretty good actually. And I honestly, low key, one of the hottest Friday the 13th girls in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah. So Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 and Killer Crocodile. I guess the Howling Five is a killer animal, kind of. By the way, here's the from the shunt. I'm just gonna show this to you real fast. That's the butt face.
Well,
Yeah, in all its glory. When you can't talk to somebody with turning around, you just put your butt in your face. Or your face in your butt, whatever. Anyway, moving on to number 4. It's Shucker. And not the thing you do to your girlfriend. I don't like this movie. That's all I can really say. I'm like one of the few people in this world that don't like this that horror fans that don't like this movie. I don't get it. Like I don't get why people like it so much. You like it. Jared loves it. I know this would have been high on Jared's list if he would have been able to make a list. He had 10 weeks to do it. What do you think of Shocker?
so I like it, but it's one of those things too where nostalgia kind of plays a part into it. Um,
Hmm.
Again, it's another movie that I saw when I was young. I believe it played on. I don't remember what channel it was. Maybe it might have been like HBO, maybe even or USA. But like I remember seeing it on TV quite a bit when I was a kid, and I've always had fun with it. Um, Not one of my favorite Wes Craven films, um, but I think even though um, I wish it did a little bit more to explain how things are happening. Um, I I don't know. I find it kind of like a creative movie. It was kind of like it was Fallen before Fallen came out. I like the aspect of him jumping bodies.
Hmm.
Uh, I've always liked Mitch Pileggi. Of course, I grew up watching the X Files, and he was major character in that. So it's kind of interesting to see him be.
He's a Winchester too. Not a Winchester, but you know.
Yeah, he's Mary's father. He's the Winchester's grandfather, uh,
Hmm.
and he was good in that too. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like Shocker. I think it's fun. Uh, I tried showing it to Amber a few years back, and she makes fun of it. She's not really a big fan, but yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
here we go. Kind of that theory of mine. I saw this late too, and maybe that part of it. Maybe if I saw it in 1989, 1990, I probably would like it more. Just that might be the same with Amber. She saw it earlier, it might have hit differently.
Well, I think too. Like I know people praise it for the soundtrack, but I think the soundtrack is a little weird. It's a little off-putting. Uh,
Hmm.
No more Mr. Nice Guy when he
Hmm.
getting
Yeah,
like electrocuted. Like I don't know, it's weird. But I don't know. I dig it. I think it's fun.
yeah, and
Oh, did you freeze? You there? I don't think I froze. it must have been him. For a minute there, I thought it could have been me. I've been known to have some issues with these shows before with getting a signal. So, yeah. Key, imagine that doing that as a stink face. Shocker had potential, but tone-wise, it's a mess. I can't decide if it wants to be horror or comedy, and they just make up his powers as they go along. Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty damn good analysis of it. Tone-wise, it is kind of a mess, and just kind of like making up his powers as they go along. Like, and I wish it was like more rules to it. Like, I wish it was more of like an understanding. Like, I get it too, like to a certain extent. There's almost kind of like a Freddy thing of, somehow this killer comes back and you don't know exactly what. There's something supernatural going with it. But I don't know. I just kind of wish it would explain, especially towards the end when it's like, the channel surfing thing. I don't know. Again, for me, Shocker is more of like nostalgia because I did see it so young, and I've always enjoyed it for what it was. Ray said that his Wi-Fi went out, so don't know when he is going to be back, but we'll keep going for a little bit here. The horror show, aka House 3, also from '89, has a lot of plot similarities to Shocker. Okay. I haven't seen that one. Welcome back, Ray.
Thanks. My Wi-Fi just stopped.
Ah.
Yeah.
At first, I wasn't sure if it was like you or me because, I've had issues before.
Mm-hmm. No, the last few days or so, like the Wi-Fi has been going in and out ever since we had a massive storm roll through here on Friday, and ever since then the Wi-Fi has been spotty. It's I don't know what's going on with it. There's multiple towns that were without power for two full days. So,
yeah, was there like tornadoes or something in Missouri? Like that?
Yeah. Yep, tornadoes. I think one touchdown really close to me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's pissing me off though. Did you get on to number 3 or no?
I did not. Nope. I was just kind of going over some of the comments and stuff.
All right. Well, let's hope this doesn't happen again. Number 3. How did this get so high?
I was kind of wondering the same thing.
Like, is this the best of the big threes offerings from 1989?
To be fair, I think it is.
I think it might be. It's not great. It's definitely not. I think it is better than the other two. I think because of the weak year that 89 is, that Elm Street 3 or Elm Street 5 ended up at number 3 because of that. Because the next two are massive movies. I don't know. I don't mind this movie. If given the choice out of Friday the 13th, 8, Halloween 5, and this, I'd probably reach for this every time.
Yeah, well, yeah, same here because I mean, I feel kind of similarly to this as I do Halloween 5, where it's definitely not one of my favorites, but I think it's watchable, and I also give a little bit of leeway to this because of Alice. Love Lisa Wilcox, so and I think her performance in this is actually really good. When she's trying to convince all the people of what's going on because she knows what's going on, and they don't believe her. I don't know. I think she's really good in this. I really like the evolution of her relationship with her father, which I know isn't like a huge deal, but like I don't know, it just seemed kind of.
He stands up for her.
Yeah, it seemed like a natural progression, from the way he was in part 4 to how he is in this. There's something kind of sweet about it. Robert Englund is always great as Freddy, no matter how bad the makeup and dialogue is that he's given. Um, there's cool stuff. Dan's death is great. It's just in comparison to the first four, it's pretty poor. But
Mhm.
it's watchable.
Yeah,
I'll
and
watch every single Elm Street film. Every
yeah,
single.
this is definitely the weakest link of the first five.
Yeah.
And the one thing I like about Lisa Wilcox in this one, Alice is not like putting up with his shit. She's not afraid with him of him at all. There's no fear there.
Hmm.
It's just like more of an annoyance in trying to save the soul of her child in this, and I like that.
Yeah. Well,
And I do.
go on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna
I was
say,
gonna,
she beat him once before, and
yeah,
now he's trying to get to her through her unborn baby, which I thought was kind of neat. Yeah,
interesting way to do it. I do like Dan's death too. The final showdown, kind of not great, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm gonna watch it if I watch the rest of them. I'll end up having to watch this one too because it's more Freddy. It's more whoa, Lisa Wilcox. What happened? What the fuck? Oh, did I mess with something?
there we go.
Jesus Christ! There we go. I must have clicked that on accident. Anyway, there. How about that? Anyway, yeah. So number three, I don't know. It's hard to say. I like it better than Shocker for sure. I think I like The Burbs overall better, but I didn't have it on my list because it's not a horror movie in my opinion. And I would ask anybody out there watching, do you think The Burbs is a horror movie? I don't think so. But I'm not going to argue with Nate about it anymore. It's pointless. So coming in at number two is another kind of iffy movie, but I love it. It's Ghostbusters 2. I don't think you had this on your list, did you? I don't remember if you did or not.
I thought I did.
You may have. I don't remember. It's hard to remember the list because like this was completed weeks ago because I was waiting on Jared, and so I don't remember everybody's list exactly.
Well,
But I
not to
love
mention,
Ghostbusters 2. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it's a bad sequel at all. It's definitely inferior to the first one, but I love it. I love this movie very much.
yeah, I've always enjoyed Ghostbusters too. I didn't really realize until a couple of years ago that uh, people have issues with it.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
didn't until the internet.
yeah, me neither. Because uh, as a kid, this was a favorite to watch. I've always thought the first one was better for sure, but
Right.
the villain in this is so striking and great, and
He's Vigo.
yeah, uh, yeah, this movie is just a lot of fun. I don't understand why people hate it so, but hey, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 are a good watch. I'll watch those two any day of the week. The later ones, not so much. But
Yeah, I mean, this is a good Friday night watching Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2.
yeah,
Order some pizza. It's a good Friday night. There's a lot of fun with this one. The big like Stay Puff moment is when they're, which is ridiculous, right? Like driving the Statue
Statue
of
of Liberty.
Liberty,
Yeah,
which really I don't think she has actual legs because it's impossible,
yeah,
But it's still a lot of fun. The whole idea of watching Rick Moranis, Lewis put the suit on and shooting
yeah,
the positron collider at the proton pack at the slime covered uh museum. That's the other thing is I love all the slime in this movie. This movie is slimy, and I
yeah,
love that. I love
yeah,
the scene where Venkman and Dana Barrett are out to dinner, and the guys come in all covered in slime because they just got out of the river,
yeah,
and Ray points his finger out and throws slime everywhere at all the people, and
yeah,
Venkman's like, "Guys, you're scaring the straights." I love that line. It's one of my favorite lines.
yeah.
But I think this movie is very close to being as good as the original. I never knew that it was just not liked as well. I don't care.
Me
So
neither. Me
I think
neither.
I yeah, right. I mean, I have a lot of love for Ghostbusters too. I mean, I'll never forget my summer of '89 was Ghostbusters 2, Back to the Future 2, and
Mm,
Batman.
hmm
And then Freddy, Mike Myers, and yeah, I mean that was my 1989 basically. Those were the big movies of that year, and there's a few other ones as well. But I love Ghostbusters too. I don't know why people don't like it.
Yeah.
Great double feature. It's definitely better than the new two. Although I do like Afterlife, but not quite as much as not the Frozen Empire. I don't like as much. It feels like a
I
TV
never
show.
I never saw Frozen Empire.
It's worth watching, but it's it's
Yeah.
it's like there's a
I
lot
thought
of build up.
Afterlife was okay, but it relied a little too much on the Memberries,
Yeah.
I think.
So you know what time it is, right?
It's clobbering time.
No.
Not a bad question, Bert.
What is your favorite non-horror movie of 1989? We've done this every week. For people who are watching, please comment in the comments what your favorite non-horror movie is. Before we get to number one, this is what we do. Your favorite non-horror movie of 1989. Is yours Lethal Weapon? Is it
Lethal
Batman?
Weapon. Lethal Weapon Part Two. Yes. Lethal Weapon 2 is like one of my favorite action films of all time. It's one of those movies I can it's like the action version of Dream Master for me, where I can literally watch it every single day of the week and not grow old of it. Um, I love Lethal Weapon 2 a lot.
I
And
like Lethal Weapon 2 more than the first one.
same here. Same here.
Okay.
And I feel like people kind of look at me crazy for saying that, but Lethal Weapon 2 is my favorite Lethal Weapon film, and it's one of my favorite action films of all time. So that was my clear answer for this. And of course, shout out to Batman, Tim Burton's Batman. Uh, Absolutely love that film as well. But The Abyss,
Did The Abyss come out in 1989?
I think it did. It's a pretty good movie. It's
Yeah.
not one of my favorite James Cameron films, but
The 89, like we mentioned before, good year overall. My favorite, without a doubt, go ahead and tell them. You know what it is.
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
That changed my entire world. That movie just changed my entire world. I had been reading Batman comics for maybe 3 years at that point, 2, 3 years at that point. I'd seen Adam West stuff. Like they started showing the Adam West Batman that summer after I'd seen the movie. And I remember my mom, one of her friends had a blue apron, like the cooking apron, and my mom fashioned it so like I could wear, like I could put the apron around my neck and tie it around the neck, and it flowed like a cape, so I could be Batman. It was awesome. And I mean, that was the summer of Batman. Prince's Batman song, Bat Dance, was like one of my favorite things of ever. But also Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I love, that's my favorite Indiana Jones movie. Back to the Future 2, awesome movie.
Oh, was
This
that
one,
also 89?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I got a huge love for the Back to the Future films as well.
hell yeah. Hell yeah. But yeah, you mentioned Lethal Weapon 2. A couple of kid movies like Look Who's Talking came out in '89. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids came out in 1989. Another
Did
great
it?
fun movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, I mean, '89 was a pretty great year for movies, in my opinion, overall. We didn't get great horror movies as much, but one does stick out, of course. Glory, man, that's a hell of a movie. Was that '89 though? Glory is a great movie. Yeah, you're right. '89. I love that movie. Actually showed that to my son not too long ago. He loves that movie. Glory's. You know what Glory is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, first of all, the movie starts off with a battle, and then you see a guy get hit directly in the face by a fucking cannonball, like immediately. I'll never forget that. I'm like, I remember seeing it, and that was like the talk of the school the next couple days. Did you see Glory? Guy got hit in the face with a cannonball. Like that was the talk. I think I was in fifth grade when that, or fourth grade. But anyway, yeah, '89 was a pretty good year, I think overall. Now the question becomes, what do you think is the number one horror movie for us for 1989? I'm sure you already know, Seth. I'm sure they already know too because it's the one we haven't seen yet.
It's I think it's like the clear cut.
There's no question in my mind. I think all of us gave it number one, maybe. I don't think actually no. Nate gave it number three because I think he put the Burbs at two and Ghostbusters at one. But number one is Pet Cemetery.
No
I
fair.
I couldn't decide between that one or this one.
Either way, man, it's gold.
Am I an asshole? Is that too far? I also had this one on standby just in case.
Well, I feel like the first one you put up hits a little hard.
It does. It's a little hard. Oh my god. Leviathan. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. Leviathan. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Heard of that?
Oh shit. I know this movie. Yeah, didn't like it. Yeah, I remember that movie now. Holy shit, I can't believe I forgot that this movie even existed. I didn't like it though. Peter Weller's in it, Richard Crenna. Yeah, I told Daniel Stern, Ernie Hudson. Damn, I forgot this movie even exists. I may have to go back and visit it. Thanks, Terry. My favorite 1989 non-horror movie is Indiana Jones: Last Crusade. Yes, it's a good one. Hey, what's up? Gotta catch you live. Yeah.
What's up, man?
So, what can we say about Pet Cemetery? It's a different movie once you are a parent than it was when you saw it when you were younger.
100%.
That might be the best way to describe this movie because when I was younger, this scene here in particular did not faze me one bit. Then my son was born, and I watched it again. I was like, oh, I love Pet Cemetery. I put it on, I'm like, oh my god, I could not imagine that flash of all the pictures of Gage, and it's just that hits hard.
That
yeah. How many times are we going to use that pun?
As many times as necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm totally in agreement. So, like, growing up with this, first off, I want to say this is like one of the best Stephen King novels of all time. But
it's one he didn't want to release either.
Yeah, but it's such a captivating book. Like, it just pulls you right in. And I've always liked this movie. I always thought this scene was, sad, but I've also really loved part two a lot. And as a kid, I think I liked two a little bit more because, there was a kid character. I was roughly same age-ish. And then, yeah. And so I've seen this film a lot, right, growing up. And then not too long after the kids were born, I finally got on DVD, put the kids to bed, cracked open a couple beers, and I went to watch this. And when that scene happens with when Gage gets hit, and then you see all the pictures pop up on the screen of Lewis Holden, newborn Gage and all that, like, I was like, I don't know, it affected me, and I had to immediately shut it off. And there was actually, I know it's a little dumb on my part, but like, I couldn't watch it for a few years after becoming a parent. Eventually, I was able to, I can rewatch it now, but especially at the time when the kids were first born. This was a hard film to rewatch. So um, it hits
Yeah, I
hard.
mean, it hits you like a Mack truck,
It definitely
and
hits you like a Mack truck. No fair.
no, I mean for real though, like this watching this after becoming a parent, like I always thought it was a pretty decent movie with some good scares and everything, and a lot of memorable moments, but I never, especially Zelda, uh, Zelda can suck a dick. Yeah, but like the movie itself, like after getting over the pure shock of that scene with this scene with Gage, because it's like, oh my god, what if that happened to my son, or
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to get past, but after you do, you watch and you're like, damn, I forgot how good this movie is. I think it's one of the better Stephen King adaptations. Period. It might be the best. Well, The Shining. No, The Shining's not a great adaptation though, but like, I think this might be one of the best adaptations of a Stephen King book. I know that it's not exactly the same, but he did write the script for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a problem like anytime there's an adaptation of a book, right? You can't include everything. Um, so it gets the story down. It gets everything important that happens. You just don't have as much context about, say, Lewis and his relationship with his in-laws
Yeah,
so much. And but I feel like the film um, uh, does effectively give you that feeling of grief from the book. Um, One I actually like, what's his name? Dale.
Dale Midkiff.
Yeah, I don't know. Up until recently, I didn't have a problem with his. I mean, I don't have a problem with his performance, but I just started noticing due to the internet, people kind of like picking apart at his acting. But I thought he was fine in this. Um, and I think Mary Lambert is a hell of a good horror director. I think there's a lot of really good horror elements to this film. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even in part two,
yeah,
um,
exactly. Yeah,
she directed both. Yeah, I agree. Mary Lambert was a great choice for this movie, and there's a lot that I love about this movie, including the location and the way they filmed around the two properties, Judd's house and the Lewis's house, and where the pet cemetery was, and all. There's just I don't know. I know they built a facade over Judd's house because there is a house there. It's just a different house, but it's still there's something about that area. I don't know. It reminds me of living in my area for some reason. Like Pet Cemetery, it takes place up in.
Ludlow,
It's
Maine.
not Massachusetts, is it?
Maine.
Maine. Yeah, up in Maine, but it looks a lot like Illinois to me, and it feels like it, which I really like. There's a lot of great stuff here. Plus, Judd alone is a great character, played by Fred Gwynn. He's so memorable in that movie, and not to mention when Gage kills him with the slice across his mouth, gives him that Joker smile, and then
Yeah.
cuts his Achilles. It's like, oh, with a scalpel of all things. It's just a very memorable movie and really great, really, really well directed. I love it. I love Pet Cemetery, and it
Yeah.
it belongs at number one. I believe it belongs at the table with some of the best of the 1980s in general.
Yeah. And another thing too, like kind of going back to the book and how it it's impossible to take everything from the book for a film because of length. So one of the things that does get lost in translation and it does kind of hurt it a little bit is the overall explanation of like the Wendigo and the land itself, and like because a lot of people nitpick and make fun of Judd, being like telling him about it, telling him you can't do it, but then bringing him up there to do it, and
Yeah,
so you lose in that translation the idea of this thing compelling Judd to tell him about it. Like that's one of the great things from the book is like Judd didn't want to tell him about it. He didn't want this to happen, but it was this presence in this land that kind of compelled him to tell Lewis about it against his own will. But yeah, have you read the book?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. hmm Yeah, one of the few. My stepdad had a nice collection of Stephen King novels. Matter of fact, they were the only books that we had on this bookshelf because my mom decorated them with brass stuff. But he had his shelf with his Stephen King, novels from Carrie to, at the time, I think. Oh, geez, I can't remember what the last one would have been because it was the early '90s. But so I went through every one of them that he had, with the exception of The Stand and Tommyknockers. I didn't read those two. But yeah, so I read Carrie and The Shining and Christine and Pet Cemetery and I've read a lot of them. It's just been since the early '90s when I read them. It's been that long. But yeah, I do have a lot of memories because this was the one that my stepdad actually didn't want me reading. And I can see why. Again, Stephen King almost didn't want to release it. Like, if I remember correctly, he said it sat in his drawer for a while after he had finished it, and it was just such a dark movie because it is. It goes into some of the darkest places any King book has ever gone into, and it's mostly because of Gage and bringing people back to life. It's a heavy topic, and
Yeah, well, it represents like every parent's worst nightmare.
yeah.
Like I had a story, a sci-fi story that I did a detailed outline for. Uh, Something happens in the past with this main character losing his children, and it was like I loved the idea that I had, but at the same time, it was like it always put me in a dark spot anytime I went to go work on this particular story. It's like I don't want to spend time here. I don't want to, I don't want to think about this shit. But maybe it's just me being sensitive.
No, I get it. I totally get it. And it takes. I love this movie and a lot of the stuff, but it takes a little bit of like, okay, I know what's coming, so I gotta be ready. Yeah, Stephen King does. Yeah, he plays over Missy's death, I think, or her funeral. But anyway, that's our list for 1989. And tomorrow, Seth is doing Werewolf Wednesday on a movie I've never seen. Is it Wolf Cop or another Wolf Cop that you're doing?
Wolf Cop.
Okay, so it is just the first movie because the reason I ask is the file name says another Wolf Cop.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I noticed that too when I uploaded the image, but I'm actually doing another Wolf Cop the following week. So 2 weeks in a row covering Wolf Cop.
Yeah.
You never seen it, huh?
I've seen Wolf Cop and I hated it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was just overly stupid.
Yeah.
That's just me though. I think I'd rather watch Marsupials again than watch Wolf Cop, to be honest.
Well, I've been telling people it's like if you didn't like the first Wolf Cop, don't bother with the second. But if you did,
I'm never gonna watch it.
Second one's not nearly as good in my opinion, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Wolf Cop's. I think it's fun. I got opinions on it. I'll talk about it tomorrow. Not one of my favorite werewolf films, but I have fun with it.
Yeah, I watched it once when it came out, and I was like, "Yeah, not for me." So, I was one of those movies that I was just waiting for it to be over, which doesn't happen very often. Like I said, I'd watch Marsupials again over Wolf Cop. But tomorrow, Seth will be talking about Wolf Cop. He'll answer all your questions that you have, and what if Wolf Cop faced off against Ginger Snaps and had to fight Ghostface in a gorilla costume? Those questions will be answered. What if they made that movie?
What if? Yeah, well, since you brought up marsupials, you should rewatch it, and then we can do a show on it.
That
I'm
wasn't an
actually-
invitation for me to watch that movie again.
Well, listen, you got time because I do have the Howlin' film scheduled. I think for September or October. I'll be going movie by movie.
Going on your Howling deep dive.
Yeah. So when I do get to 3, you are invited to join me, and you should rewatch it. And
I think I have. Yeah, I've got something happening that day.
see, I think you're full of shit, sir.
Yeah, I mean, my watch tells me it was just there. No, we'll see. That's the best answer I can give you. But anyway, I don't know what we're gonna do next week. I think we should do a what if episode. I don't know how to frame that, but you said what if. I'm like, oh, that'd be fun. Like, take a what if, Freddy defeated the Dream Warriors or something like that, like come up with some what if questions and kind of just discuss it, I think that'd be kind of fun. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, are you referencing like when I talked what was it like last week about how like what if there was only John Carpenter's Halloween and no sequel?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, we'll each come up with some questions. I'll see if Nate can throw some out there. Like, yeah, what if John Carpenter's Halloween was the only one?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. I don't think I'd like that, but would the reputation of Halloween be less tarnished because of its sequels? I don't think Halloween's reputation is ever going to go anywhere because it's considered one of the greatest horror movies, and anytime we've ever done a horror movie bracket, it's won. So it's probably the greatest horror movie ever made, or at least the most well known. I've always called the first Halloween movie the face of horror because everybody knows it. And then when October comes around, you hear 1,000 people with the Halloween ringer going off. So
yeah. Well, it's just funny though because it's like as I mentioned to you before, Amber doesn't like slashers at all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she had this, not entirely wrong, but this preconceived notion of what Halloween was. But then, like last year, or the year before, I was watching it, and she happened to be in the living room, and she took notice of like how beautifully shot it is. You know what I mean? Like,
she's an artist, so she could definitely tell that stuff.
Yeah, but it is kind of like, okay, John Carpenter's film, I think, is art in my opinion. And it does kind of get tarnished a little bit by the fact that it's part of a slasher franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the other thing with that though, like what if there was no Halloween? We would not have had the slasher boom of the 1980s.
No.
I mean, think about that. There would be no Friday the 13th. I don't know that people really understand sometimes the gravity of what Halloween, John Carpenter's film, is to like how important it is to the horror genre. There's so many hundreds of movies probably that may not have ever been made if not for that film. Sean Cunningham would not have a job. Damn it, Halloween.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting too, though, because it's like Halloween is not the first slasher, but it's the one that made
It's
slashers.
one of catapulted slashers.
Right,
Yeah.
it made slashers mainstream. So, I mean, without Halloween, we'd probably have some slashers, but definitely not the boom that we saw from the 80s without it.
Well, I think about what off the back of Halloween, you got the whole boom from 1980 to about 1983 with The Prowler, My Bloody Valentine, The Burning, all the Friday the 13th. There's so many of them that got made, especially in 1981, that try to mimic what Halloween did. So if Halloween wasn't there, there's nothing to mimic. Nothing to cash in on. So I don't know. That's an interesting question. The other thing I wonder is if Halloween was never made, would A Nightmare on Elm Street ever get made? Because it gets lumped in there with slashers. But of course, Wes Craven, before Elm Street, he had made The Hills Have Eyes, The Last House on the Left, Deadly Blessing, I think, came out before that. So I
I
bet Elm Street still would have gotten made.
I think Elm Street would have definitely gotten made. I don't know if he would have the blades on his glove. You know what I mean? I think because of slashers, that element exists. Even though I've said this many times, I hate the fact that Nightmare on Elm Street gets lumped in as a slasher because I feel like
Yeah.
there's more
Same here.
there's more value
Well,
to.
Hellraiser gets lumped in sometimes too, and it's annoying.
Yeah, I don't get that one at all. But I feel like Elm Street probably still would have existed, right? I think Craven still would have had the idea, but I don't know if he would have the knives on his gloves.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's I think this would be a fun topic, honestly.
Yeah.
We'll have to come up with some questions, and I'll ask Nate too, because Nate might come up with some really good questions as well to throw out there next week for our Tuesday night horror movie massacre. And don't forget, anybody who watches this, if you have not liked or subscribed, please like and subscribe, and head over to the Facebook page where we're doing October. Jesus, it's March horror movie March Madness. My goodness. We're doing remakes right now, except for John Carpenter's The Thing is not included because John Carpenter's The Thing would win. Period. There's no doubt in my mind. I generally take out movies that I know will win, and that one will win. Like John Carpenter's Halloween is banned for life from being in any of our brackets because it will win. It'll beat John Carpenter's The Thing.
I am actually proud of you right now for using the full titles.
I'm only doing it for you. I am. I mean, because look, my cup doesn't even say John Carpenter's The Thing. It just says The Thing. And that's the VHS. So Halloween 2. Anyway, yeah, what would the horror landscape look like if not for John Carpenter? Ooh, that'd be a weird place. So there's a lot of what ifs, and I mean we can't even do like what ifs from movies, like your buddy, whatever his name is, that is always talking about ginger snaps. He does. He talks about ginger snaps a lot.
Yeah,
Scott Baker, I think is his name. Anyway, there are definitely some what ifs, like especially in horror movie franchises. That's why we did the 10 burning questions of the Elm Street franchise. Was I wanted to get into some what ifs in a way of what could happen. Like what if Freddy's plan came to fruition in Dream Child, stuff like that. We'll figure out. There's a lot of cool questions that we can come up with, and I'll definitely pass along to Nate because I'm sure Nate will come up with like a list of 107 with no problem. Like Nate, can you come up with a few questions on what if for horror? Yeah. Here's I only did 126. I could have done 250 for you. You know how he is with his list. He's good.
What if Pamela Voorhees watched her own damn child?
What if she had one of those child leashes?
What if Jason wore floaties? He'd still be alive in all these couches.
Oh man, I there's got to be a picture somewhere of Jason wearing floaties. Let me see if there's got to be.
Oh, there probably is with like one of those things, like you see those memes where it's like someone saying no to something and it says directed by blah blah blah.
Yeah. I'm looking just to check. No, but I found a duck. Jason Voorhees duck. Oh, although there is the wide world of AI images, I'm sure I could conjure something up using AI if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I just don't ever mess with AI images. Anyway, so we'll do something like that next week. At some point, I'd like to figure out a way to combine these lists and make a top 25 horror movies of the 1980s. That way, we can just have a top 25 of the 19. I'm not going to do more than 25. 20 or 25. We could definitely do 50. It'd be easy. But because we just did 100 over the past, 10 weeks or whatever. I think 25 is enough. It would take us forever to get through 50. It'd probably take us a couple hours to get through 25, to be honest, unless we power through it really fast.
As before, we did like 3.5 hours talking about the 31 movies between the big three franchises.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna have to power through it, because I'm not gonna sit here for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like doing a 3-hour video. I mean, we've done it before, and once you get us talking, sometimes we can go. But
well, I mean, even with especially with our like end of the year list, when it's like 3 or 4 of us talking about like 25 movies plus 10 honorable mentions.
Well, the honorable mentions are usually Nate's, because he doesn't get all of his in there. But yeah, like the past one, that I've been trying to trim it down to where it's like we do the top 20 or something. He's like, oh, it's just not enough. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be doing this for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's going to watch us for 6 hours doing. I'm trying to find that video, see how long it was, because it was pretty long.
Yeah.
I burped. Top 3 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people, see, an hour and 24 minutes. That's not too bad. But 3 hours and 41 minutes, geez, it's quite the feat to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because generally our lists are about an hour. The top 10 lists are about an hour. But if we don't go into like crazy detail, it would be less. And I don't think with the top 25, if people are looking for detail, you go to the top of 1985 or go to the top list of 1986 or go to the episodes that we did about that movie if we did those, because we've done a lot of movies, whether it's on Discourse or Horror Movie Massacre, or as it was originally called, Up All Night.
Yeah. We never did a full show on When Evil Lurks, have we?
No, on either of them, no. That was just on our 2023 list. I think was it 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever done a full show on that.
I just love that movie, so.
Is it your favorite movie of the decade so far, do you think?
Yeah. 100% my favorite movie of the decade.
I think that was one of the things I wanted to do on Discourse, was do like a top 20 of the decade so far, but make it from 2020 to 2024. And then, because 2025, obviously, there's been 4 or 5 movies that have come out so far that I've only seen 3, which is The Monkey, Wolfman, whatever it's called, and one other one, Heart Eyes, which I liked. So it'll pick up. Usually midsummer is where it starts, not the movie, but that's when it starts picking up for me and seeing the movies from this year. So, but anyway, yeah, come back next week and we'll do some what if, and you guys can throw some what ifs at us maybe too. And Sunday we're going to do some horror remakes, maybe come up with the 10 best horror remakes, maybe the 10 worst. Will The Fog be on there? No, but I think we're going to do the 10 best remakes, and then Seth's got Wolf Cop, and next week another Wolf Cop.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I can see where that movie's appealing. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again. Maybe I'll watch it again. Is it streaming anywhere?
Yeah, you can watch it on Tubi. It might be on Prime Video as well. I have the Blu-ray for it. If you watch it knowing what it is, like it's intentionally cheesy. I think there's some cool stuff in it, but sometimes they just go for it,
Yeah, it's on Prime, Tubi, the CW app. What? I mean, yeah, and I know what to expect. I think the sex scene really kind of turned me off towards it. Thought that was weird.
It was weird.
But I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another shot.
You know,
For old time's sake.
I think I could go the rest of my life without seeing someone's dick transform.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll see it again.
There you
And
go.
then, maybe I'll do a double feature of Wolf Cop and Marsupials.
There you
Sounds
go.
like a good night.
It actually does.
All right. To you, weirdo.
I'm holding you to it.
Anyway, we'll be back next week. Seth will be in tomorrow, and Sunday Discourse. We will talk about some horror remakes because we are doing a March Madness bracket on horror remakes. We did the first 4 matchups today. There will be more tomorrow, a lot more tomorrow. And that's it. Seth, any final words on the 1980s before we move on?
I mean, definitely cool decade. Lots of great films in there. Yeah. I think 89 is 89 and 83 are the 2 weak links of the 80s.
Well, I think we should rank the years.
We should.
As weird as that may sound, I think that would be fun. Let's rank the years. I'll have Nate make up a list, and you make up a list, and I'll make up a list, and we'll see how the years turn out. I think 89 is the worst year. I think hands down, it's number 10, and it's the 10th year of the 80s, so it makes sense. So, but anyway, we'll see you. We got lots of other stuff going on coming up tomorrow, Sunday, and next Tuesday. So stick around for the Horror Syndicate. We appreciate you. Make sure you go to the Facebook page and be a part of history where democracy is in action. You get to vote on movies. It's fun. All right.
Evil
Have a
dies
great
tonight.
night, everyone. Huh?
I said evil dies tonight.
There it is. The evil die.